Hello again, my fellow Warcraft grognards. Just a quick introduction. We are still taking a look at the fan-made World of Warcraft RPG adaptation for the 5th edition of Dungeons and Dragons. I cut this off into two parts because it was very long. I was sitting there yapping for about 1.5 hours, almost 2 hours. So I had to cut it up a little bit. We will quickly take a look at the rest of what I have been looking at, and without much further ado, let's get back to the original recording. Now, classes, this will be really interesting because it adds some classes and subclasses that are not in either World of Warcraft or in D&D. And you see the Alchemist as a class. A Forsaken stalks the ruins of a Murloc village, picking eyes and bits of flesh. As a skulking Murloc prepares to jump out at her, she casually tosses a potion at its chest without glancing at it, causing the skin to bubble and blacken with a terrible what? The last thing it sees are the Forsaken's fingers reaching forward to take out its light. Some short fiction to really give us the sense of what alchemists are like as a class. I like that. I like the alchemist being included as a class. And alchemist, tinker, that really are good candidates for future classes, even if people go like, we already have engineering profession and wow, so we don't need the tinker class. We also have the blacksmithing profession in the game. So should we not have warriors in the game? Because we already have the blacksmithing profession. The engineers make the weapons that the tinkers use. And the alchemist class is in a similar bag, though the name is even less fortunate. But I do like the idea of alchemist as a class, a guy who just throws potions and bombs, alchemical bombs at people. I do like this idea as a class. I don't know if they did it a lot based on the Pathfinder first edition Alchemist or second edition even Pathfinder Alchemist. I don't know how much they did that. I'm not going to be going to look into a lot of details, but you see cantrips. You get some cantrips which you are using through alchemy, so it's not actually a firebolt, but you are throwing like a fire flask. Alchemist can conjure and bind aberrations, constructs, elementals, oozes, plants, and undead, as well as homunculi creatures. This is usually done by crafting miniature versions and preparing them in potions or globes of alchemical mixture. That's very interesting. Each alchemist level provides you with one caster level in the alchemist class. You follow the normal progression to unlock spell levels. You may not prepare spells, but can brew them into potions. Okay, so this is a lot of this is just using like mage spells, but you're using them through the alchemy, and it's a natural explanation of how you'd go about this in a TTRPG. Though I would maybe, if I was making this, maybe I would give the alchemists like their own things, but their own spells. But then again, you'd have to give their own spells to all the different classes. So it's a fine adjustment for a TTRPG. Instead of a spellbook, you get a formula book. This is pretty much just a caster who is just not casting spells himself. You gain a homunculus companion. That's nice. Innate cantrips, potions, slinger. What does it do? You choose one type of ranged weapon, such as crossbows or bows, and gain proficiency if you don't already have it. Okay, Mithridatism. You gain innate power over poisons. You naturally generate up to 4 doses of basic poison whenever you complete a long rest. Interesting. Did not really consider that. Alchemy path. When you reach a 3rd level, you walk a path that defines you as your path of alchemy. Flash Bomb. So this is like their subclasses, I think. Flash Bomber. You gain a Flash Bomber talent, but you can only use it for potions. And everything you're doing is potions. I mean, it says like it's not for poisons. I don't know. Powered Physique. You do not automatically incur misability when using potions within 1 hour of one another. Okay, so that's not like potion toxicity. Adaptable environment, synthesized poisons. Here are alchemy paths. Here are the subclasses. Path of the Apothecary, that lets you conjure undead. Rune Array, Vampiric, Ray and Enfeeblement, Feign Death, Stinking Cloud, Confusion, Cripple, Contagion, Flesh to Stone. Okay, Plague Zombies. Yeah, that's very interesting. Apothecary. Biohazard, you gain the Mithridatism weird science feature if you didn't choose it at level 1. Path of the Mutant, so this is like the more melee focused alchemist that mutates himself. Absorb elements, mage armor, alter self, berserker frenzy, fly gaseous form. Yeah, that's and Path of the Transmuter. What does the Transmuter do? Fog cloud, holy light, create food and water, see invisibility, haste, revivify. So this is like a support subclass, support specialization. Okay. Now Death Knight as a base class, because it's based, on World of Warcraft, and Death Knights have become a base class. So Death Knights are a base class in this. And it talks a lot about the lore, how they were created, like build proficiencies. Javelins, you can get javelins as a Death Knight. I wish I could get javelins as a Death Knight in actual WoW. You can turn one or both of using 2 weapons to fight, and your weapons into rune blades, a weapon infused with the might of the Lich King and his blessing. Okay. Do Death Knights get undead in this one? Because in the old RPG it said that Death Knights didn't have to be undead. They were technically mostly not undead, but then WoW they are treated as if they were all undead. And if you try to, in WoW, roleplay a Death Knight that isn't supposed to be undead, you get treated like you're some kind of special snowflake because you're going with the older lore of the original Death Knights. Because WoW role players are strange. And yes, I was a WoW role player. I can say that. Undead nature, yes, they get undead. Okay, so they're going with the more WoW interpretation. Divine Sense. The presence of strong evil registers on your senses like a soothing darkness, gifting peaceful oblivion of death and whispers of powerful forces. And powerful good brings painful brightness, shattered memories, and the creeping return of life. Corrupting Touch. You get spellcasting, you get certain spells. Fighting style. Okay. Death Knights get to choose the fighting style. Runic Strike, Death Knight Auras, Dark Paths. I don't know what's the difference between these paths that they mention here, and then later there are the actual specializations. There are actually actual subclasses for these classes. Path of Blood, the Path of Frost, so nothing, extraordinary, and the Unholy Path. Anything else? No. Those are basically just the three specializations from WoW. Druid mentions the lore, a lot of the lore of the Druids. Some spells, basic spells, proficiencies, class features. Druidic spellcasting, Wild Shape at level 2. No, Druidic, the secret language of Druids, Fae, and Spirit of the Wild. No, you don't. That's not a thing in Warcraft. That is not a thing. I don't know where this. You didn't have to copy this from D&D. Wild Shape. So maybe I would have also while I'm already renaming things, I would also rename the wild shape, because that is not the term that is used in Warcraft. So I would rename this already. Causes you to age more slowly. For every 10 actual years you live, your body ages 1 year only. And that would be nice in real life. Beast spells. Beginning at 18th level, you can cast many of your druid spells in any shape you assume using wild shape. You can perform the somatic and verbal components of a druid spell while in beast shape. So, you know, spellcasting bears. So you can just stay a bear forever. I think the D&D druids do that too. Druid circles. Balance. Moonkin form. Nice. Feral. And restoration. And it does not have guardian. That is interesting that it does not have guardian as a separate part. It does have like features here like persistent beast and prowling beast, which I assume are bear and cat forms. And if you are already doing these WoW specializations as subclasses, just why not just make Guardian as a separate thing? Because, you know, there are very different playstyles that will change how you play the game. Hunter, Deadly Rangers, mentions hunters as rangers, and much like WoW, it conflates hunters with rangers, which they were not the same thing. And please, dear Blizzard, using a bow or a gun does not make you a hunter. There are many more potential class concepts that can use a bow that aren't hunters. Please, Blizzard. I know you will not hear this, you will not change anything, but I think a hunter points. Do they have like they have like spellcasting, a certain level of spellcasting, like the rangers? Do they get like the favored enemy or favored terrain? I do not see it, but maybe I'm just blind, because favored enemy, you get favored enemy, and it was mentioned the favored terrain elsewhere. So yeah, they made hunters into rangers from D&D, and it's fine. It's fine. Hunters and rangers should be different things, but it's fine. Okay, hunter archetypes, so hunter subclasses. Beastmaster with hunter's companion. Do regular hunters not get pets in your system? Yeah, that hunters just gain the pets at all times, and wow, really all hunters should have pets. If you're copying the WoW systems, all hunters should have pets, not just the Beastmaster. Marksman, and WoW tried to make Marksman not use the pets again for the second time, and I think people still didn't like it. So really all hunter subclasses should have pets. Survival. Okay, grit. Mage. Now, do they just copy wizard for the mage? What do we have? Spellcasting, mage tradition, spell mastery, signature spell, mage traditions, arcane, okay, fire, frost, and that's it. So just the WoW specializations in this case, not the choice of like 9 subclasses for wizard and D&D. And even if you go by the lore, you could add more specializations. Like you could probably make lightning mages, which do exist in the lore. Monks, special features: unarmored movement, martial arts, key, mystic energy of key, access energy as represented by number of key points. So this is the D&D key, not the Warcraft key, which work very differently. The Warcraft key is a different resource separate from mana, and in my system I use several different types of resource that are divided into 4 primary types: mana, energy, combo points, which key is a type of a combo point, or holy power for a paladin is a type of a combo point, or rage. And I think that implementing more types of resources really echoes the systems and feel of the Warcraft setting a lot better than this. So the key really should be the more Warcraft based key than the copied D&D key, but it's fine if you don't want to change the systems too much. Among traditions: Brewmaster, Mistweaver, and Windwalker, and that's it. That's all just the specializations. And then Paladins. Now we have to see if Paladins that could have like oaths they can break. Seal spells, Divine Sense, Lay on Hands, Crusader Strike. Okay, Fighting Style, Spellcasting, Holy Oath. When you reach 3rd level, you walk a path that defines you as a paladin forever. Up to this time you have been in a preparatory stage, committed to the path but not yet sworn to it. You may choose the Oath of Holiness to aid the helpless, Oath of Protection to guard the weak, or Oath of Retribution to smite the wicked. Each oath has a... Can they break those oaths? Doesn't say anything about breaking those oaths here. Create a Strike, Cleansing Touch, Aura Improvement, Sacred Oaths, Oath of Holiness, Latent Prayer, Illuminated Healer. It doesn't. I don't think it says anything about breaking the oaths, so you can't really break the oaths. It's probably like assumed that if you break the oath to guard your allies and old friends of the Holy Light, that you would still break the oath and would have to like reclaim it, but it doesn't say anything about like oath breakers or like reclaiming your oath. So maybe you can't break your oaths in this one. It would almost be an improvement if you played Baldur's Gate 3 and had your oath broken for very stupid reasons. Then you would see this definitely as an improvement. And now priest. I remember I have checked the priest before and there were more options for priests. Yeah, light armor and simple weapons, so this is not a cleric. The Warcraft priest is not a cleric. They do not get the medium, the chainmail armor. Priesthoods. Death priesthood. They get Bane, Sleep, Gentle Repose, Conjure Undead, Blight, Drain Life, Contagion, Unhallow. Yeah. So gain extra specializations. Death specialization for priests. Holy, Discipline, Moon priesthood, a separate specialization for the Night Elf and Moon priestesses. That is nice to see. It is nice to see that they are treated. That they really delved into the lore when it comes to the priests. So someone must have really loved their priests in World of Warcraft. And Shadow. The priests are done very well from what I can see. A lot of attention has been given to the priests, so that is very nice. The Rogue. Thieves Cant. I don't think that's a thing in Warcraft lore. They treated like the Gutter Speak, the Forsaken Gutter Speak, like it was the Thieves Cant until Gutter Speak was removed from the game. So I don't know if Gutter Speak still exists in the lore, if it was like retconned out. The Thieves Cant isn't really a thing anymore in the Warcraft setting. Rogue archetypes is probably going to be just the subclasses: Assassination, Outlaw, Subtlety, and no old-fashioned combat. Only the Outlaw. I would have added the old-fashioned combat to this because it was a very different spec to the modern Outlaw. I would have added this as a 4th specialization, as a 4th subclass. Shamans now. Shamans. Gift of the elements. Creating a shaman. Quick build. Kalimag. They can speak the elemental language. And this. That's nice. Channel elements instead of channel divinity. So these are the clerics. These are the clerics, really. Only they are having more elemental themes than divine themes, and they get the of course the subclasses. They have subclasses: elemental, enhancement, and restoration. And there are some people who are less familiar with the setting would think, well, why didn't they get like fire, air, and earth specializations? Well, it makes sense if they were just trying to go with the WoW mechanics. And Tinker, finally. And Tinker, the class that I still want to see in actual World of Warcraft, which does not seem very likely to come anytime soon, but it was, to me and to the makers of the original RPGs, it was always core to the identity of the Warcraft setting. Core, quick build, intelligence should be your highest, ability score, make agility your next highest. Did they like adapt the artificer into this? Engineering, innovation. Innovation, again the ability to craft temporary and unstable technological creations at certain levels. Such creations have limitations compared to normal crafting, but are more accessible and usable in combat. Also need the required tools at hand. Creating a temporary technological device costs an action if a consumable, 3 turns if a use items, such as a firearm, or 1 minute if a creature, such as turret or combat armor. Okay. At level 17 you can create artifacts. You still can't create artifacts in WoW. Even at level, what is the level now? 80? 70? 80? Crafting point cost, material cost. Temporary creations also cost material costs appropriate to the rarity as detailed above. Okay. Patent. Also, starting at first level, you gain increased mastery over a single engineered device of your creation that is not a consumable. Your patented device does not malfunction when being used. Furthermore, if a construct or gadget, it takes 1/4 the fuel as normally required for a single use. This stacks with the reduction for certain devices. Very interesting. Favored creations. Starting at 5th level, you gain increased proficiency in innovation. Choose up to 4 devices. These devices have half the crafting point cost, and their formulae are memorized. Okay. Coolness under fire. Consistent innovation. Scavenge. Evasion. Work as intended. As starting at 11th level, you may spend 2 crafting points to remove the malfunction conditions of a device you are touching. Interesting. Quick tech, engineering, master. Tinker paths. Bomber. Okay. Gadgeteer. Appreciate the versatility. Gadgets provider prefer to craft and control constructs such as mechs and vehicles of all types. Gadgeteers are often the drivers of their own devices, such as the engines of goblin balloons, dwarf steam tanks, or gnomish submarines and gyrocopters. Okay, so this is the tank in the mech suit. The gunner, I missed that earlier, so this is okay. Gunner makes sense, and the bomber, yeah, makes sense. When I was like prototyping, like what I would do as a Tinker class, I had the alchemists as a specialization, as a healer specialization for Tinkers. But here, when the alchemist is a separate class, that's fine. So bomber, gunner, and the gadgeteer. I would have called this a steam warrior, because that was a concept that was introduced in the older RPGs. And so it is known to the setting, and it sends the idea of being that driver of your own devices better than the very generic sounding gadgeteer. Finally, warlock. And they called warlocks sorcerers, earlier on in that renamed things part, and we'll see. And I found that strange. Why do you say that sorcerers are renamed to warlocks when warlocks are already a thing in D&D? You know. So what happens to the D&D warlocks? And let's see if it is more like sorcerers or if it is more like the warlocks of D&D. And then demonic studies, demonic invocation, spellcasting, soul shards. At the second level you tap into a deep and mysterious magic of souls. The wellspring is represented by soul shards, which allow you to weaken your enemies or strengthen your own spells. Is this meta magic? Hence conjuring. It is essentially meta magic. It is essentially meta magic. So it really is more of a sorcerer than it is a warlock from D&D, and that is a very peculiar choice. Demonic studies, so the subclasses affliction, demonology, and destruction. Alright, finally warrior. Let's see what they did with the warrior, and if it is just a straight up fighter from D&D, or if they did any like actions and like rage. For as long as a war has raged, the heroes from every race have aimed to master the art of battle. Hit points, proficiencies, special features. You may lose proficiency with heavy armor and instead gain the unarmored defense. Okay. Warrior class, fighting style, warrior talent, ability score improvement, extra attack, fighting styles, of course, warrior archetypes, warrior talents, warrior archetypes, arms. So yeah, I think this is mostly the warrior. Fury, you equip yourself with 2 weapons and slice your enemies to ribbons while shouting vengeance. Fury warriors make good party members, I would hope so, as inspiring shouts aid their allies. Bloodthirst, so yeah, this is mostly the fighter. Protection, yeah, this is mostly the fighter, more so than the warrior from Warcraft. Special and narration specializations. Demon Hunter Rogue. Demon Hunter is a specialist in fighting demonic outsiders and sacrifice with body and mind to gain alien and terrifying powers. Look, this has been made after Legion was released, after Demon Hunter was a base class in World of Warcraft. So after that, Demon Hunter really should be a base class and not a type of a rogue. Like they gain enough features to like be their own thing, to play differently, but Demon Hunters aren't rogues. You had the Demon Hunter class in World of Warcraft by the time of the last release of this. This really shouldn't be a rogue. This really shouldn't be here. It really should be its own class. I just noticed this. A Draenei who takes the mantle of the Demon Hunter may alter the gift of the Naru ability, casting the Mind Blast spell instead. So that's nice. But yeah, it shouldn't be a rogue. It really shouldn't be a rogue. See, and it's the Mountain King, which is a hero talent in The War Within, is treated the same as a Demon Hunter. And even though that wasn't a class at the time of that release, so the Demon Hunters got really shafted. This essentially alludes to the Rune Masters of the old RPGs. So someone probably played a Rune Master in the old RPGs, or at least read about them. Shadow Hunter was a hunter archetype. Like if you're still going by that Blizzard adaptation of all the everyone who has a bow is a hunter, then sure, Shadow Hunter is a hunter, but really they're not. Spellbreakers. Like, to have those options at all is better than not having them, but they're really not the same thing. Like the Spellbreakers aren't just your average warriors. Shadow Hunters are not just hunters. Witch Doctor, as a like type of shaman, it's good to have it than better to have it than not have it. But I don't know about putting them under the umbrella of these larger classes from WoW. And I definitely don't like Demon Hunter. And class talent. Some classes allow you to take talents, which are customizable class features that can enrich and reinforce a certain character concept. So this is like a feat, because it has like these prerequisites. This is a feat that is a special class-based feat, essentially, from what I can tell. So these are essentially feats, and a different name to make it fit the themes of Warcraft setting better. But if you're doing that, you should probably just change all feats to be called talents for the thematic reasons. That would probably work better. Personality and background. It still mentions gutter speech, uncursed Eredin, dialects, Naja dialect of Elven. It's not one language. Eredic, script Eredic, okay. Inspiration from backgrounds, which are largely the D&D backgrounds from what I can tell. Entertainer, folk hero, guild, artisan, haunted one, Variant haunted one, Illidari. Zealously loyal to the master, the Illidari demon hunters have a strong identity and a close bond, although their heavy fell corruption and demonic techniques have inspired dread in their fellow elves. Hermit, yeah, this is mostly just D&D. Like some like variants from the Warcraft lore. Spirit Walker is just a background. I don't know about that. Spirit Walker can really be so much more. This is mostly just D&D. And like equipment, I'm not going to go into the details of all the equipment because this will be mostly just heavily into the mechanics. And I am still at page like 196 out of 430. And I have been sitting here for a while. I was mostly interested in taking a look at the races and classes and like the base mechanics, mechanical changes of the system. So I see that it has a lot of the like very famous weapons from the lore. So that is nice. The Verdant Spheres from Kael'thas, Warden's Cloak, artifacts, Frostmourne, and wields a magical greatsword. The sword is bathed in blood within 1 minute of being drawn from its scabbard, or 1 hour after awakening from a rest of any kind. Its wielder must make a DC 15 Charisma saving throw. On a successful save, the wielder takes 3d6 psychic damage. On a failed save, the wielder is dominated by the Lich King, either via the spirit of Ner'zhul or by the blade's own consciousness which serves it, as if by the Dominate spell. The spell effect ends when the sword's demand is met, and the spell's demand is usually either to spill innocent blood or move the wielder a step closer to being aligned with the Lich King's will. Yeah, so that's very that's very nice to have all those weapons from the lore. Thoridal, Thunder Fury, which is an artifact. That's nice. Yeah, that's not going to go a lot into that. If you want me to stick with that and go into a lot of those details, I have already been sitting here for a long time, so I think I will close it for now. But yeah, there were definitely some big misses, some big problems. like with the forest trolls and the demon hunters. There were some big problems from the lore standpoint. But overall, if you're looking to just play World of Warcraft in 5th edition, you can just do this, and you should see the link to their Discord server in the I will put the link to the Discord server in the video description, but also you should be seeing that link on the screen now, right here. So you can go to that link and join their server to get your own copy of this book and a bunch of like supplemental books, or like divine favor rules, other optional rules, or like a monster guide for the they used the same background watermark as I used, the same like parchment, but parchment watermark that is interesting. You get like all the monsters from the Warcraft lore to play against in 5th edition D&D. Abomination, Acolyte, no pictures of course, unfortunately. So yeah, it's an appreciable adaptation to the 5th edition, but there are some issues that should probably be dealt with first. But if you are just looking for a way to play Warcraft in 5th edition, this is probably the thing for you. And if I had to rate it in like out of 10, I would give it like maybe a 7 out of 10. It's not bad, but it needs to fix some things more on the lore side than on the mechanical side, because I haven't really delved very deep into the mechanical side of it. But yeah, it's a very interesting system, and if you would like to learn more about it, I will leave the link in the video description below, and maybe next time I will take a more in-depth look at some more specific parts of the RPGs, of the original RPGs. But meanwhile, this should be it for now, and if you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe, and leave a comment below about what you thought about this system, and I hope to see you